Hey, it's Diane Hochman, and I'm figuratively naked. This morning I made a video and it was like marketing stuff. And then the more I went through the day, the more I felt a need to talk about something more. Marketing stuff is great and you need to learn it all, but there's a spirit, there's an energy behind. I'm sorry, I'm like fuzzy. My hair is bugging me. There's a spirit, there's an energy behind people that become really successful. And I wanted to talk about when I started to know I had this in me. Because if you're watching this video, you've probably felt it too. You just haven't quite been able to put your finger on it. I worked, before I got in the industry, I worked at a college. It was interesting. I had dropped out of college the first time. And I went back to school, and this time, of course, I was paying for it myself, and I was on a budget. So what I did was I went to community college for a little bit to take courses that were like prerequisites and everything before I went back over to the university, because I started at a very big university, to save money, because it was much cheaper to take these English and science classes and stuff like that at community college. And while I was there, I don't even know how it happened. Some people met me in a class or something, and they wrote me in. They voted me in for a position in the student government, which I wasn't interested in. I was older than all the kids. I had no interest in any of this. I wasn't looking for any of this. But the next thing I know, I was voted as the social vice president of Middlesex Community College. And I went down to see the student activities director, and I'm like, what's up with this? I didn't even run. I have, really no interest. He goes, I don't know. Why don't you come to the meeting and see? It sounds like people think you'd be good at it. And so I took this position and did it really well. Learned in that position that I was a good promoter. I was able to fill up events and run these large events. They never had any turnout. They never had any student interaction. And all of a sudden I was running these events and selling out 300, 400, 500 people events. And the dean called me into his office, and he was like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. You just, you have to think about what they want instead of trying to give them what you want to give them. And he gave me a part-time job at the college. And so I was the assistant to the student activities director. And I worked there all through my years while I was finishing, not years, it was about a year, while I finished my bachelor's degree. It was quick, and because I only had so many classes that I needed. So I worked part-time and I went to school part-time. And when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, they actually created a job for me at the college, which was really cool. And it was during that time that we had different workshops and different things. And it was the first time I was ever introduced to any personal development stuff. And Jack Ardeen did a talk on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And something happened inside of me while he was going over this. I had never been exposed to any ideas like this. And I begged him at the end of the talk to borrow the book. And he said, no, Diane, this book is for you. And he gave it to me. And I went home and I devoured that Stephen Covey book. By the way, I had it up until a couple of years ago when I wrote in it and gave it to one of my students who was particularly precocious. And I gave that very first personal development book that I ever read to her. When I read that book, something inside of me was born. And it was always in me, but it just blossomed. And all of a sudden I knew there was something more for me out there. And I didn't know exactly what it was, and I didn't know exactly where I was going. And it took me quite a few years to find this path that I'm on. But it was putting in my mind these higher level ideas and getting off the TV and what I was into at the time, and the Women's Day magazines full of ridiculous, one story was like how to have incredible abs, and then the next story was how to, bake all these cakes. And it was like very contradictory stuff. So I just started devouring stuff, and I went to the library, and that's where I found And I'm not a good reader, guys. Not a good reader. ADHD, I have a hard time reading, so I started buying, not buying, but borrowing, because I had no money, borrowing audiobooks. When I left my job to be home with the kids, there was a time period before I started my business where we were pretty broke, and I spent a lot of time at the library. And it's really been all these years that I've been just expanding that little spark that happened that day in a meeting back at the college. So I want you to think, when did you feel the spark? And by the way, when I went to my first opportunity meeting, I felt the same spark. I felt that same thing, that it was like this thing rising up inside of me. There was a thing and it had to come out. And of course, it was bundled in the desire for money because I needed money, but it was never the money. It was a feeling. It was a something. It was an expression that I was called to do. So write me and tell me, put a comment here wherever you're seeing this. Tell me, when did you first know? Whether you've achieved it all already or whether you're working on it, or me, I feel called to something even more now. When did you first get the twinkle that there was something out there for you? Because there is. There is. And it's not in a program, and it's not in a pay plan. Those are vehicles, wonderful vehicles, a lot of them. But it's this thing in you. And you have to figure out how to get it out there and how to find the other people that are feeling the way you do. That's it, guys. Diane, Figuratively Naked. And by the way, one of the reasons why I keep looking at stuff and reading stuff and attending events, etc., is because I'm looking for that feel. Whoa, excuse me. I'm looking for that thing again. I'm looking for divine inspiration. I have my own motivation, but I find things and I find people and the connections happen, and it's pure magic. And that's what keeps driving me. So who knows, maybe you're one of those people that I'm going to connect with and we'll find that sweet serendipity. Or maybe you're somebody that through this message, you're going to go, you know what, she's right. It was that day. It was this place. Find the window. Go back in time and find the window where everything started. It'll help you move forward. When you go back and find it, it'll help you move forward. All right. I'll see you later.